Hey everyone, it's Chris at Lion Punch Forge. I know what you're thinking. This audio doesn't match the video, and you're absolutely correct. Well, I filmed this, and unfortunately, my audio failed. But it was such a great video that I figured I'd go ahead and dub it over like a foreign film. So, here we are. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about these guys. Ingots. If you remember from a previous video, I poured this ingot. And a lot of people were thinking, hey, that's not a perfect ingot. I'm like, you know what? You're correct. It's not. This ingot actually has less flaws than I do. But you're not throwing me out, are you? I sure hope not, because I still got plenty more videos to make. And this is a lot of fun doing this whole old dubbed over kind of fun foreign film thing. So we're going to go ahead and get going with this. So ingots today, we're going to take this ingot, that little line that's drawn on there, you might be able to see it when I hold it up close, that is going to be cut. We're going to go ahead and cut that to make sure our ingot is a little bit easier to roll through and more uniform. It's going to create a smaller piece of sheet, but hey, any piece of sheet is better than no piece of sheet. Now, a lot of you who watch the channel know that I like to include my mistakes when I make things so that you guys can see how I fix them. Because guess what? We all make mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn. It's how we get better. It's how our friends end up making fun of us. So, if you want to go ahead and make fun of me for my mistakes, please do, because I will only take it as you laughing with me, not at me. So we're going to cut this thing. And I could use one of those jeweler saws over my left shoulder, but I decided I'm going to use a hacksaw. Why? Because it's faster. Should I? I don't know, but I am. Does it work? Yes, absolutely it does. So we're going to do it. Whatcha! The next thing I need to do is take this ingot and address some of those surface flaws. My mold was a little bit cold when I did my initial pour, and I really don't want to redo it. So I'm going to go ahead and fix this. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my torch and I'm going to anneal the metal again, which is always a good idea. But I'm going to go a little bit past annealing, and I'm going to start reticulating the top part of the surface to essentially melt everything back down into a uniform ingot. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my rolling. So enjoy. Now, as I'm heating up the metal, you'll see the color change. It'll start to get a lot brighter orange. And when I say reticulation, essentially what you're going to see is the surface of the metal is going to start melting. And it's not going to melt the entire ingot. It's just going to be the surface. The surface will kind of start to separate the two alloys. See how it turned nice and kind of glassy? That glassiness is basically the first part of that ingot melting, that surface melting. You'll see it again here in just a second. Here we go. We're going to heat it up. You'll see that surface turn glassy. And I'm going to start filling in those gaps with that melted metal or reticulated metal. Now, molten metal will follow the heat. So essentially, once the metal has reached its molten stage, it will follow the torch. So if you want to, it's kind of like painting with red hot molten metal. It's a lot of fun, and it can come in handy when you, say, for example, need to fix an ingot that was potentially screwed up the first time. Not that, all right, I did it. I screwed it up. Now we're going to get set up for essentially our first roll. My metal is quenched and it's all dried off and clean. So now I'm going to open up my rollers to insert the ingot. And essentially what I'm doing is inserting it making it so that it will touch both rollers, and then I'm zeroing out my mill so that when I take the ingot back out, I can rotate the mill, bringing the rollers back down into place where it would touch the ingot. And I will make my first roll through, and here is that right now. And then I'm going to do a quarter turn and roll it through again, and essentially repeat this process. Now the process is going to be repeated several times, slowly bringing it down, and in between each time I'm going to go ahead and kneel, probably after every about 4 or 5 rolls through. Head back to the torch, do your kneeling, and make sure your metal is nice and soft as you're rolling it through your mill. Now eventually you're going to end up seeing some of the sides of that ingot start to crack out, and that can sometimes be fixed by remelting the side of that ingot, or it can be fixed by filing the sides of your ingot flat, being uniform. Essentially though, you're going to have some split out when it comes to that. Here I am trying to adjust or figure out how big my ingot is right now. I want to try and get it to about 16 gauge, and when I started off, this was probably right around, probably a 4 gauge. So here we are, we're at 10 gauge right now, so I'm going to need to roll that through just a few more times, doing about a quarter or even less than that each time, rolling through, inspecting my surface, making sure that I don't have any problems with the ingot, and annealing often, annealing really, really often, because essentially what you're doing is compressing all the molecules, and you'll start to get cracking and all sorts of nasty stuff happening if you're not annealing often. So that's one huge important part of this process. And here we are. Here we're a little bit longer here. I believe this is about an 18 gauge. I may show it here in a second. Let's see what we're at. We'll show it here in a minute. I think I'm really close at this point. But this entire process for me, with that size ingot, with where I wanted to get down to, it was really only probably a 30-minute long process, running back and forth, annealing and drying and all that fun stuff. But that's it. Have you ever asked yourself, what are you doing with your life? Why is this so difficult? I have. Have you? Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure you have. So, anyway, lessons learned. This here's a piece of sheet. I can use it for making things. It was previously scrap. Now it's useful. But during this process, we've learned some lessons. 1, make sure your ingot mold is hot enough before you pour your molten metal into it. That way you don't have to do a bunch of fixing. Second lesson, this is more me than you. Verify your camera is recording prior to, doing the rest of your recording. Otherwise, you have a dubbed over foreign film with me, Chris, from Lime Punch Forge. As always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Be amazing. Do something for your neighbor. And don't forget, when we get to 2,000 subscribers, I've got a giveaway. So check out that video. Like, subscribe, share the channel, do whatever you want, because you know what? I'm not the boss to you. So enjoy yourself, be safe, and as always, I love you guys.